Dollhouse Season 2, Episode 11, Getting Closer, gets us closer to the climactic battle at the heart of Rossum, which, by the way, is evil, in case you didn't know. It starts with the first of a series of flashbacks of Caroline 3 years prior in 2007. She seduces a Rossum security guard to get into Adele's office. While there are some anti-feminist memes about women using their feminine wiles to deceive men,
you're using wiles on me,
which has legitimate feminist concern.
She's a female, and all females is poison. They're full of wicked wiles. What are wicked wiles? I don't know, but I'm agin 'em.
Given what we know of Rossum's obvious evil, I think that its application here is without cause for feminist alarm, though worth some commentary on the larger picture, which I imagine I'll get to eventually. She handcuffs the guard and raids Adele's files.
Oh, God, you're a thief? I let a thief into the building?
Relax, I'm not a thief. I'm a terrorist.
This is such a highly charged word that I feel its usage here is to establish Echo's concerns about Caroline and Bennett's hate of Caroline as legitimate. Caroline's legitimate mission to take down Rossum took her to a dark place and made her dangerous. The show further legitimizes Echo's identity as separate from Caroline and makes the person we were initially rooting for become a morally grave figure to be feared. This kind of intelligent complexity in the storytelling is why Joss wasn't being misogynistic in making the Dollhouse staff likable. Sometimes bad guys are fun and good guys are scary. As Lubov points out,
people are mostly crap.
Are you saying she's evil?
Worse. An idealist.
Anyway, Caroline takes Adele's files on her and on Bennett, who at this point is just a neuroscience student who Adele has her eyes on.
You can kill me with your brain.
After discovering the Dollhouse, Caroline splits. In the present, Echo expresses her concern about Caroline entering her mind, but insists that she can handle her. The goal is no longer to bring Caroline back to control Echo. Echo wants to control Caroline in the same way she controls her serial killer imprint. Just as a precaution, though, she has Adele strap her to the chair. It's all for nothing, however, as the hard drive mysteriously vanishes. Ivy speculates Echo took it to keep from having to be Caroline, but Echo says she didn't, and Adele believes her. The implication is that either the mysterious Rossum founder or Clyde 2.0 is there at the Dollhouse. With the hard drive missing, all they have is the backup that Alpha smashed the hell out of. So they decide to get the greatest expert in Dollhouse technology, Bennett Halverson, to come repair the device. The thing about Bennett, though, is that she hates Caroline. She won't do it willingly, so they have to force her. Now, every complaint about Bennett follows the same sort of path. Joss depicts something bad happening to her, therefore Joss is a misogynist. It completely ignores Bennett's status as a villain and a serious threat. Bennett is played by Summer Glau, who is very cute and has a childlike appearance because she's a dancer. And as such, she is not taken seriously by the feminists who can't see past her childlike feminine appearance and see a real serious antagonist. If the character were called Billy and played by Neil Patrick Harris, I don't think that there'd be the same kind of upset of Topher punching him in the face to rescue Echo, because these people cannot handle a girly villain out of a mix of internalized misogyny and ageism. Bennett is a cute young woman, and she's also a sadistic villain who wants to punish Caroline by torturing and killing Echo. You have to understand that she's both at once. So Topher hacks into the DC Dollhouse and reprograms an imprint so that a male active grabs onto Bennett and lets Anthony and Ballard into the building so they can kidnap her. Feminists don't like that the men overpower a woman, and there's a moment where she looks afraid, but Bennett is a threat that needs to be seized very quickly before she has a chance to fight back. Since we're not sexist, there's nothing wrong with using men in this task. Seeing Bennett as just a helpless girl is a disrespect to her character as a formidable villain. While they're there, Ballard sees that November is kept there and he insists on rescuing her as well. When Bennett arrives, she informs Adele that Rossum will kill her for this offense, and proceeds to disrespect the way Adele designed the LA Dollhouse, specifically with regard to how the actives are made more comfortable.
You let them roam. They roam like free-range chickens. We keep ours more like veal.
I told you Bennett was evil. Topher still has a crush on Bennett, so he tries to be a good host, and he treats the situation like it's a date. Even though Topher is one of the people coercing her into fixing the drive, there's no pressure for her to return his affections, and she regards him coldly for a bit.
This man assaulted me, struck me in my own lab. I'd like to file a formal complaint.
Miss Howson, as you correctly noted, you have been abducted.
Bennett comes around after he gets her a drink, flatters her for her mind, and shows her the interesting puzzle he depends upon her to solve. As I think Topher was right in hitting her, I don't think there's anything problematic about her forgiving him for it. The two get more romantic as Topher apologizes for hitting her, and she acknowledges she provoked it by trying to kill an active that she pretty much considers his property. Topher legitimizes her actions and basically declares himself all in the wrong. While I don't think he's entirely truthful so much as just in the mode of worshipping his crush, and that the extreme situation is expressed in mundane apology terms for the purpose of humor, the situation presented seems to be what the feminists were after in criticizing Topher for punching Bennett. However, as I look at this, I seriously hope that Topher is stretching the truth, because if he means what he says, then it means that he is seriously apathetic and can only be called a villain.
I was trying to kill your active at the time.
You had your reasons.
Well, the romantic mood is broken when Bennett figures out that the imprint Topher wanted her to fix belongs to the woman she hates enough to torture and kill her active body. Bennett punches Topher in the face for the offense, and the next time we see Topher, he's treating the injury. This is probably necessary for their romance, where Topher offended Bennett by hitting her, and now Bennett has the chance to hit Topher back. But it pretty firmly cements Bennett as a villain in my mind. She hurts one of the supporting protagonists for trying to trick her into helping the main protagonist, who she hates and wants to torture. What is that if not a villain? It tells me that Bennett and Topher are pretty equally powerful in their abilities to hurt each other, and that Joss is more than willing to depict a woman punching a man in the face too. None of the feminists who I've seen criticize Topher for punching Bennett will ever acknowledge that. I'd say it's a twisted relationship with morally gray to dark gray characters, but there's nothing anti-feminist about it. What is anti-feminist is Topher's getting upset about being beaten up by a girl specifically, as if Bennett is in a fundamental state of weakness as a result of being female. In any case, Joss himself isn't anti-feminist for depicting a mildly sexist character given the plethora of female power this episode showcases. In the past, Caroline tracks down Bennett, a nerd being mistreated by snooty popular girls. Caroline scares them off and makes friends with her. Bennett is very lonely and loves that Caroline is actually interested in her. Pretty much everyone who watches this agrees that there's a lesbian subtext to their interactions.
You're gonna pop and like it.
You know who you are. You're so fearless. I'd love to get a look at your amygdala.
You have to buy me dinner first.
Eventually, Bennett finds Caroline's file on her, and she confronts her about it. Caroline comes clean about using her to get at Rossum. Bennett isn't upset about being used, only that she wasn't trusted with the information, and she wants to help Caroline to the fullest extent, even if it means committing a terrorist act.
Do you want to blow up a building?
This parallels Victor not wanting to take charge. Bennett is willing to be used by Caroline so she can support the woman she loves, and this is part of the larger theme of objectification that pervades the show and is not limited to the female characters. When it comes time for the actual terrorist act to be committed, Caroline goes off plan when she discovers the attic, and she tries to stop the explosion to no avail. Bennett is pinned by a pillar, and the Rossum security will soon arrive. So Caroline decides to present Bennett as simply a Rossum employee who got caught in the explosion, and herself as a terrorist working on her own in order to spare Bennett. Bennett got the wrong idea and thought that Caroline was throwing her under the bus in order to save herself, leading to the present Bennett's hatred. In the present, Echo insists to Bennett that she's a different entity than Caroline. In order to persuade Bennett into resurrecting Caroline, she promises to let Bennett torture Caroline after they extract the needed information. Bennett gets a look on her face akin to that of Gollum, lusting after the One Ring of Power. The whole scene is reminiscent of the scene in Angel, where Cordelia offers her body to Angelus in exchange for information. Bennett isn't one of the goody-goods. She is a sadistic villain who happens to look like a cute girl. When Topher sees her working on the drive, their chance for a cute, sweet romance is resumed. Their cute theme music plays to get us in the mood for that, but Topher and Bennett exist on a certain level of apathy that allows them to be fun without being particularly moral. The fact that we appreciate their romance shouldn't mean that we consider Bennett to now be one of the good guys.
Turns out Echo and I share some common interests.
Yeah! Torture! Meanwhile, Adele and Boyd prepare for total war. Boyd meets with Claire, who he's helped evade Adele, and she agrees to go back to the dollhouse to help out. Echo sends Anthony and Priya out of the building and encourages them to never come back. Topher and Ivy release every active except for November, who's been imprinted as Melly for Ballard's sake. As it turns out, Ballard doesn't love Echo anymore because that's part of what Topher had to remove to get him alive again. Dominic escapes from the attic and brings the message that Clyde has been killed. Adele sends him back to the attic because they need an agent inside the mainframe. Echo agrees with Adele, but Ballard does not. And it's clear that he has fundamentally changed since Topher redesigned his mind. Rossum figures out that Adele's doing things they don't want and sends a few Rossum executives to take over. Adele has Boyd kill them. She sends Boyd out of the dollhouse to draw Rossum's fire, and Boyd and Claire have a tearful goodbye. So Bennett and Topher have a really cute, really sweet, romantic moment that should ring warning bells to anyone familiar with Joss Whedon's works. Claire has a moment with Bennett where she tells her that Topher loves her and that she's really good for him. And then in a shocking moment, Claire kills the most moral member of the cast.
One in the brain pan. Squish.
Okay, so this is a case of women in refrigerators. Bennett is killed off to bring drama to her boyfriend Topher. This is worth some criticism, but I believe the feminist reaction to this is overblown because Bennett is cute and they forgot she was a sadistic villain. It should be considered roughly on the level of Buffy being willing to kill Anya, to Xander's dismay. The difference between Bennett and Anya is that Anya is seriously conflicted at the time Buffy stabs her, which leads her to find redemption soon after. Whereas Bennett is just an unhinged sadist, and what she would have done if she survived would be to torture someone.
I can't decide whether you should live or die, or you'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang your head and cry. No wonder why my heart feels dead inside. It's cold and hard and petrified. Lock the doors and close blinds. We're going for a ride.
Ultimately, Bennett is a woman stuffed in a refrigerator, but she's more like Elle Bishop than Alex DeWitt. I'll discuss this more in my concluding thoughts at the end of the series, but I'll just point out that Ballard's assault by Alpha is comparable, if not a literal fridge stuffer, so it's not a completely one-sided gender thing. They reason that Claire was a sleeper activated by Rossum. She manages to walk out when Topher's distracted, and then Adele makes Topher finish the repair. Ivy offers to take over, but he insists that it's his responsibility and tells her to leave and not turn out like him.
Don't become me.
Topher finally acknowledges how screwed up he was and shows his female assistant the respect she deserves. Though Topher began as an apathetic character, the feminist dollhouse narrative ultimately makes him a good protagonist. Topher finishes the job, and they imprint Echo just as Rossum launches an all-out attack on the dollhouse.
Damn, I just had that replaced.
Echo's imprint then shows us the important flashback where Caroline was captured by Rossum security after the bombing. The Rossum owners want to meet her, so she is taken to their joint office. The first guy is Clyde 2.0, in his fifth body. And finally, the head of Rossum is revealed. Zach from Bones. No, it's just Boyd. Wait, what? Okay, when I first saw this, I thought that this wacky twist completely invalidated the great Boyd scenes of Season 1, but as I've reviewed twisty episodes like Briar Rose and The Attic, I've come to realize that's wrong. The twist doesn't override past meaning, it only adds an additional level of meaning. When you think that Stephen Kepler is talking about porn because he's gross, that level of meaning has value that doesn't go away when you learn that it was Alpha putting up an act to distract Ballard. When watching the episode again, it's both Kepler and Alpha talking at the same time, and you can decide whether to listen to Alpha or Kepler. Likewise, when Adele taunts Echo with the attic and stop loss, she's both the evil villain that Joss presents us with and the cunning good guy we learn she is at the end of the attic. Learning that Boyd is the ultimate villain doesn't invalidate Echo's growth, in which she and the viewers saw Boyd as the father figure. And it doesn't invalidate the legitimacy of the arguments against the dollhouse that Boyd gave Topher. That is all maintained as truth, but with new meaning. On a technical note, Boyd wasn't going to be the villain until the show was renewed for a second season. So in the first season, Boyd is written as a complete good guy. So taking Dollhouse as an evolving story, the first season's Boyd is legitimately untarnished by later writing. So you could forget the second season and analyze Boyd purely as a good guy when analyzing season 1. For the practicalities of analyzing Dollhouse, I see a bizarre twist where Boyd is suddenly the villain now. There's nothing anti-feminist about that, so let's move on.